know that the Bible's first musician was not King David? It was Jubal. In Genesis 4:21, they call him the father of all who played string instruments and pipes. I always wondered, what did music sound like in Bible times? Was it loud, or was it thunderous like a shofar blast? Or was it soft and spiritual with a harp strumming under the stars? Now I can only imagine standing in the courts of King David with harps ringing and cymbals clashing and Levites singing psalms. But what instruments did they really use? And why was music so important in ancient Hebrew life? So we're going to travel back thousands of years to discover how music shaped worship, war, and everyday life in ancient Israel. So we already learned that the first musician was Jubal and not King David, and he likely crafted early lyres and flutes, laying the foundation for musical worship. Now, these weren't just party instruments, they were spiritual tools used to praise, mourn, and even speak to God. Now, the Bible is filled with musical instruments, many of which would look super odd in a modern orchestra. The kinnor, which is like a small harp that was played by David himself. The timbrel, which is like a little tambourine, famously used by Miriam as she danced in Exodus 15:20. The shofar, a ram's horn, was used to announce war or a sacred feast, and cymbals and trumpets, they were used to stir the soul and stop the crowd. One thing's for sure is that each sound had a meaning, whether calling a nation to war or lifting up a psalm of praise. Now let's talk about David, the shepherd boy with a killer slingshot and a sweetheart solo. Now, David wasn't just a warrior king. He was also Israel's most famous songwriter that was responsible for many of the psalms. Now, he appointed the Levites to lead music in the temple, and 1 Chronicles 15:16 says, David told the leaders of the Levites to appoint their brothers as singers to sing joyful songs accompanied by musical instruments. So yes, indeed, there was an entire ancient choir on staff, and they weren't just singing either. They had lyres, harps, and percussions that could shake the floorboards. So music just wasn't background noise. It was part of a sacred ritual used to honor God, prepare offerings, and celebrate holy days. And in Psalms 150, you'll find this musical roll call. Praise him with the trumpet sound. Praise him with the harp and lyre. Praise him with the tambourine and dancing. Yep, you heard it right. Dancing was also an act of worship. Music was also a weapon. When the Israelites marched around Jericho, they didn't bring swords. They brought trumpets. And guess what? When they blew their shofars on the seventh day, the walls came down. Even in 2 Chronicles 20, when King Jehoshaphat faced the giant army, he sent singers ahead of the troops. Why? Because praise was more powerful than panic. So by the time Jesus hit the scene, music was still part of daily life. People sang at weddings, Passover feasts, and synagogue gatherings. In Matthew 26:30, we even read that Jesus and his disciples sang a hymn before heading to the Mount of Olives. Even in the prison, Paul and Silas sang hymns in the dead of the night. And guess what? Another miraculous shaking, but this time it wasn't the Jericho walls, it was the prison doors. So what did music sound like in the Bible times? Probably raw, earthy, spiritual, maybe played on wood and bone, with voices that reach for the heavens. But more than anything, it meant something. Music was the bridge between humanity and the divine, between grief and hope, between silence and praise. And today, the same heartbeat continues, whether it's on a stage or in a sanctuary or from your headphones. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And please leave me a comment and tell me what you think about this video. And if you like this video, watch this next video, and I will see you again real soon. And remember, don't miss a